let me see if Mark Sokol's with us. I know he has some scheduling constraints. Mark may or may not be with us.
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go. I know you've got to disappear for a few minutes in a bit. So,
Okay, so
let me
yes.
hand things over to you and then just punt it back when you're done, sir.
Okay, so we were talking earlier about the Graviflyer device, and this is the unit that I picked up from Chris Hardiman. Flew down to Oklahoma. For those who were here at the time at APEC, you would have heard about this before. But this is the picture. This is the actual device that we were talking about that Chris supposedly saw 80 grams of weight loss on. I reviewed his footage, and we tried to just power it up using the high voltage power supply we have at the lab. And I didn't see any weight loss in that configuration. Again, the tuning seems to be an important part of the equation. And I do have this like quasi work theory about how it works. Basically, I think the most important component is the center plate's frequency. It needs to resonate at its resonant frequency in which is usually in the gigahertz or megahertz or something like that. And by doing that, it creates a standing wave on the surface, which the rotating magnets can then interact with. Also, the piezoelectric part on the top is also supposed to be in resonance with the device, meaning that there's a physical standing wave of the material and a electromagnetic standing wave above the surface. Now, what really gets me is how could he possibly tune something using a Slayer, Tesla coil like this? That they're not very tunable, and that's why we're going with just a straight up RF generator that's going to be hooked up to a center, the center of a disk to create the standing wave. And I actually have another device that we just finished putting together like seconds ago. This is another iteration of similar concept. So what we have over here is an RF antenna, or it's an antenna contraption. I don't know what you can call it exactly, but the wavelength of the radius from this center point to the edge, it's about 2 gigahertz. So we'll probably put in like a quarter wave, and that will be around 500 meg. There's a capacitor in here. We're going to be combining high voltage static fields with standing waves in this device. There's reason to believe that this will create warp field. Possibly we'll see some of the Hutchinson effect. The two plates are shiftable. We're able to shift the distance between them using this rig that we put together. There's a new member of the team. This is Tom. Here, let me tilt the camera up.
Hi.
Tom showed up today and helped out. I met him on Clubhouse the other night, and he's been a great asset here with the arts and crafts, and yeah, just really nice construction that we managed to put together today. And it has everything's made out of plastic and wood, so that there won't be any conductive components. Now the capacitor should act like a short for these high frequencies, and just radiate the RF directly to the radiating panel, which is over here at the bottom. And if we space them correctly, there should be standing wave interactions happening right around here where my finger is, and coupled with the static high voltage field should produce some interesting effects, which would be similar to what we see going on in the Graviflyer. We just need a rotating magnetic field to work with as well. I haven't done a lab update in quite a while because we've been traveling and going to different conferences. So there's a couple other things that are going on over here at the lab as well. So we did have a flood a while back, and turns out that the damage from the flood was to the transformer that we planned on using for the klystrons for the Alzafon experiment, and for any experiment that uses the high power, high frequency RF, and we're getting a new one in that's going to be a lot more powerful. It was supposed to be here on Friday, but should be here hopefully Monday. That will give us 12 kilovolts at 15 kilowatts. So more than an amp at 12 kV, which is a lot of freaking power. And we're going to be able to power some pretty powerful klystrons with that. Another thing is, and I'm a little embarrassed to say this, we finally gave in and we're purchasing Beetle Wings. I'm hearing Gabrinikov being mentioned so many times. Jeremy talks about the importance of metamaterials, and they say those covers for the Beetle Wings are actually have microscopic structures in them that create interesting static effects. Also, when I looked online to find where you can purchase Beetle Wings, I found one listing on eBay, and there was 613 units sold. And for those who don't know, there's 613 commandments in the Old Testament, which is one of my passions of why we got into anti-gravity in the first place. And we've been seeing that number over and over and over again. We got 613 joules in the capacitor, 6.13 kilowatts in the klystron, and the serial number for the equipment that we got from Sandia Labs, which is here at the lab right now. They're also have a 613 in it. So I'm just going to transfer over to a different Wi-Fi, and I'll show you what is new at the lab. I might. Okay, I'm back.
There we go.
Yeah, I just had to change to a different Wi-Fi to go to the other side of the building. So, yes, the equipment from Sandia Labs has arrived, and here's what we got. We got some pulsed microwave amplifiers, capability of going from 400 to 4,000 megahertz. And interestingly enough, the name of the manufacturer is Space Pulse Microwave Amplifier. The guy who sold it to us, who works with Sandia Labs, told me he's never seen this company before, working with them for 20 years. He thinks it was probably built in-house. And funnily enough, all of their serial numbers are the same. So that seems to fit in with that theory pretty nicely. And we also got a signal generator for that same range. It's able to get down to like the single hertz. Here's some other equipment. This is the third amplifier from Sandia. There's also a new camera setup inside the Faraday cage. So there's a wire that's being fed in there, and we have a GoPro that's fully RF protected. And the wire comes out on the other side, and I'm able to plug it into my laptop and get a live view of the experiments. We have 2 of those set up. So in future experiments, if we ever do one live here at APEC or on YouTube at the Alien Scientist channel, we'll have 2 views from inside the Faraday cage, plus all the views from outside of the Faraday cage as the experiments are going on live. So that's what's going on here at the Falcon Space Lab. And I'm going to have to run in a little bit, just for 10 minutes. But
yeah, no, that's no worries at all, Mark. Yeah, and I know that, and I should apologize for messing your schedule up a little bit. But yeah, I would say run, do your thing, and come back. So guys, do you want to go to open discussion for a few minutes then? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. So I will kind of reconvene there in just a few minutes. So Mark, yeah, I will see you in a bit. And thank you again, sir.
I have like 5 minutes until I have to take this call. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I think Benjamin Solomon has a question.
Yeah. Go for it, Benjamin. Oh, sir, you are muted, sir. There we go.
I always forget this. It's interesting to see your 2-disc construction. I have a friend who's doing, if you trace back the designs, it goes back to Podkleanoff superconducting disk. So what we have done is we have taking a 2-disk version using regular magnetic fields, and I will let you know what we see from the results.
Okay, where is the this is from Sean.
I don't know what this is.
Oh, this is a very interesting setup. We're actually on a call with Sean earlier.
What's
this
the cat for? Is that the
this-
secret sauce?
Sean, can you get on and talk about that? That's a very interesting project. that he's
Sorry, I
working
was
on.
muted. Yeah, and in fact, and Mark, why don't you go and take your call, right, and then prep for a couple of minutes? Why don't we have Sean come on? Sean? Here, I will ask Sean to unmute.
Hello.
Yeah, because you can't just screen share and then you can't just drop it on us and not explain it. So now you gotta, can you put the photo back up? Can you put your screen share back up and describe what it was that you had?
Yeah. Here, let me put a link in the chat for everyone. It's a geometry I've been experimenting with. How do you screen share?
Okay, and then Charles had a question. Charles, I think you had a question for Sean, right? Okay, there we go.
Mark.
Oh, for Mark. Okay, yeah, hold on. Mark will be back. He had a business call he had to take, so. Okay, and then Sean, can you describe what you're doing with this for us?
I'm exciting the central element here. This is made of steel, and I'm running an RF signal into the central element.
Okay, and so this should produce, you're thinking this will produce a thrust then, right?
It's possible. It's possible.
Oh, so this is more of just kind of a frequency experiment. You're just kind of seeing what it will do, but you're not sure yet.
Yeah, the idea is the fields are oriented in this way. The magnetic field circles around it.
Now, do you have any expectations on the effects that it will produce?
The logarithm. I don't want to make any claims except to say that it may produce a geometric series in the frequency domain. A set of frequencies that form a geometric series.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, so the geometries of the antenna then would create kind of a reinforcing field.
Yeah, it's based on a set of logarithms that have a certain, Euclid called this the extreme and mean ratio, or people also call it the golden ratio. And it has a property that you can apply when you're doing nonlinear mixing, when you're heterodyning waves. You can you basically have a situation where you get a set of frequencies, and any two terms in the series will add to produce the next term. So you have some frequency here that's your fundamental, and then you have a second wave that's your fundamental multiplied by this ratio. And when they heterodyne, you get a geometric series of frequencies.
Constructive interference, right?
And any two terms, what's that?
Constructive interference. It's
Well,
they add,
get-
right?
you get the sum and the difference. There's an upper sideband and there's a lower sideband. So you mix these two waves through a non-linear element, and you'll get your original two, and then you'll get the difference and then the sum also. That's called heterodyne. And then any two terms in this series will recreate more of the series. So if you keep feeding it back into itself, you'll get this whole spread from a very, very low frequency to a very, very high frequency. These are the physical dimensions.
Do you think that this
The-
will produce a focused beam of energy?
No, no.
Okay.
It's not a actional, as far as I know. If that would be interesting to simulate in NEC, you could see what the lobes look like, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is just to create this particular set of frequencies.
Okay.
But yeah, you can look into it. It's all on that website.
Yeah, and so that's the spaz.org/magi. Let me write that into chat. spaz.org/tilde-magi. There we go. Okay, yeah, here is the official website. I like the graphics that you've done.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to say anything?
Okay. Oops.
Yeah, if you'd be all right. You know, when you and I talked on the phone, you had seen some interesting effects with this configuration of yours, and I found them really fascinating. But I have a feeling that a lot of people listening in right now are not quite sure what it is that you're trying to do, or any kind of things that you're looking for. So, I mean, maybe bring some of those details in and help people understand what exactly it is that's unique about this particular antenna structure, and how it's particularly different than, say, just a standard dipole or even electrical monopole.
Jeremiah, is this something you could help describe? Maybe you could help Sean describe this, because I'm one of those people who doesn't totally understand.
Well, as far as I can try, and Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I understand it, what this thing effectively does is, through the ideal ratio of inductance and capacitance, it can do what is similar to what a Tesla coil can do. It can convert either a magnetic flux into a vector flux, or it can convert a vector flux into a magnetic flux. So when he has this center dipole powered, when he pumps power into that center long rod, there's going to be an equivalent frequency resonance for every single one of those circular rings around that thing. And so what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a standing wave harmonic built up in that antenna system that could give him a very, very amplified and directional signal. So though this is not really for, you know, beam generation per se, it does allow a very different type of complex transmission structure, which has a transmission from a higher stress energy region of space, because there's a lot of circulating current within this system that's not present in normal antennas. And it's he's trying to study, I believe he's trying to study the phenomena of what happens when an antenna structure transmits under these high energy conditions, or these high circulating current conditions, in a way that's geometrically idealized to maximize the exchange between vector potentials and magnetic potentials. But Sean, please correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Relativity, speak in a meaningful way about that. But the way I look at it is that when Stephen was speaking earlier, he always, every time he went through one of his equations, he'd always do dimensional analysis. He'd always make sure that the units on the left side of the equation came out to be the same as the units on the right side. So the way I'm looking at this is, if you have a length, you'd measure that in meters. And then if you have an area, you have square meters. And if you have a volume, you have cubic meters. And then if you were to have the hypervolume of a tesseract, that would be in meters to the 4th power. And higher dimensional objects, you would measure in 5th power, 6th power, 7th power. And so I'm working with a geometric series of frequencies where you have a wave oscillating at some frequency, and then that frequency squared, that frequency cubed, that frequency to the 4th power, 5th power, 6th power. And I believe it's a way to access aspects of space which we don't normally perceive or are able to interact with.
I see what you mean. By creating a complex geometry, you're thinking we might be able to interact with higher dimensional space. It's almost like a hypercube, but in several different dimensions.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it, Rob.
This looks like a Victor Schauberg's version of water to electromagnetic theory. Is that basically what you'll call it?
What's that?
This looks like Victor Schauberg's application of water. He used phi in his experiments. I don't know how. I can only guess through my research what he used it in. Seems like you're doing the same thing for electromagnetic phenomenon in this arrangement.
The geometry is actually similar to a vortex in water.
Yes, and that's exactly what Victor Schauberg described his theories in. The best way to transport energy is
a hyperbolic funnel.
Right. And that's how he came up to be, well, his grandson came up to be, found out the rectangular, I forgot how he termed it. But he used the general principles of conics sections and a three-dimensional rotated hyperbola. I don't know if you've heard of anything of Victor Schauberg's theories.
That's exactly, a hyperboloid. Or there was a physicist in the 1600s that called this Gabriel's horn. Yeah, you just rotate a hyperbola around one of its asymptotes. Yep. And that happens to be also the shape of a vortex in water.
Yep. That's exactly how Victor Schauberg described it. Or his grandson. I don't know exactly. Victor Schauberg came out with ideas, but his grandson came out, applied mathematics to his ideas, I believe. At least tried to. I don't know if you're familiar with Victor Schauberg's theories. But mainly it dealt with.
I know that he was using this shape, or people have been using this shape in Germany in modern times based on his work to control the flow of rivers, to stop it from eroding the banks of the river.
Exactly.
If you just
Where
arrange
fords are
stones.
created. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how the so-called experts in hydroengineering screwed up the Danube and all those other rivers. They went opposite to Victor Schauberg's ideas on how to save the environment.
Yeah, I used to work for a civil engineering company that we would do, we'd work on creeks for the county, and they would always have us put stuff in the water. Like if the creek had taken out trees, we would tie them up with steel cables and put them in the creek to try to slow down the flow, to stop the erosion of the banks.
Did it work?
I didn't come back to see, but that's something that is being studied academically now.
I see. Huh. So you haven't done any experiments so far with this geometry yet, have you?
I've built the thing. I got a welder friend of mine to make one, and I've been running RF into it to see what happens.
Is this similar to what you call waveguides?
You could a nested waveguide. It's very similar.
Okay. Huh. Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
If I may, can you go back to that image of that Gabriel's horn, the same shape of the water vortex that you had up? It was tab 2, I think it was back. Anyways, yeah, that hyperbolic shape. I was looking at the way that you had animated the EM wave attenuation as far as the wavelength, reflection angles, and the possible energy change. Yeah, that one right there, exactly. And then I thought of Scheuer's drive, because Scheuer came out and basically stated the problems with NASA's and Tamar's replications of the drive in that having flat ends is basically going to eliminate some of the forces, and simply that standard linear taper is not an ideal shape. But never really tried to put together the idea of using Gabriel's horn and something like an EM drive to use this structure naturally as a energy density attenuator. I just wonder if just a solid piece of material like this pumped at the right point with EM at the right frequency for its resonance would be able to perform these same kinds of effects as Scheuer's drive, and maybe very efficiently too. It's a curious inquiry. I wonder if either you or anyone else has thoughts on that.
Well, another place where you see this shape besides a vortex and water is on loudspeakers. For stages, you'll have your driver down here, and then a hyperbolic horn opening out to the environment. And this is actually, if you read about why they use that shape, this is called, they refer to this as an impedance matching device, a mechanical impedance matching device. Not like you might put a balun on your antenna. This is an impedance matching device for sound waves.
Yes, the acousto-mechanical version of it.
Exactly, yeah. In the sense of like the transmission in your car is an impedance matching device. It transforms from the high pressure, low volume situation here to the low pressure, high volume situation on the big end.
I very much may consider trying to find this shape and and just finding the right RF resonant frequency and pumping it, finding something that's pre-made that's already idealized for this. Probably get it from a musical instrument store, I'd guess.
Yeah.
And
Well, thank you, Sean. Yeah, I'm not sure if you have
Okay.
more to share. Let me know. And otherwise, well, I was going to say otherwise we'll go to open discussion after that. But I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't
yeah,
mean to
please.
interrupt you.
Thank you for the time.
Oh, sure thing. Are you sure? I don't want to cut you off. That wasn't my intent. But
No.
oh, okay. Well, so let's officially here. I will let me stop Sean's screen share for the time being then. And I will just go to open discussion. And actually, Michael Boyd was mentioning an open discussion. He wants to show his alien video. So yeah, I guess the open discussion rules are, just everybody try not to talk over each other, and nobody needs to raise their hand or anything for this part. This is just mellow. End of the day.
So go ahead.
Well, no, you go ahead, sir. Put the alien video up.
Oh, okay. So basically, to remind folks, what I was talking about was the possibility of there being a relationship between UAPs and their curiosity in our nuclear weapons facilities, being due to the fact that sometime in our immediate future there's a nuclear war, and that nearly destroys life on humans near extinction event. And what this video is that, and I don't know the authenticity of it, but it certainly looks antiquated, and there's some follow-up videos that I'm not showing that suggest this visitor was tortured, and which that in my mind unfortunately makes me feel it's more credible, not less credible. And so with that in mind, what from an anthropologist's perspective, it raises this issue. I like to talk about nonviolence, and one of the big issues with cultural violence is that it's trauma. We're dealing with personal trauma that we experienced, a lot of us, when we were young, and essentially we develop mechanisms to repress that trauma, and really dealing with the trauma is the healthy thing to do. And so the way I like to address this is through humor. Basically, I kind of view humor as like when you're laughter and when you're happy, you feel that in your heart. When you're angry, when you're frustrated, that's in your head. You feel that in your head. And like love comes from the heart. Obviously, everybody knows that. So I like to kind of do a mind wipe with humor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my share screen here.
Okay, yeah, and then after Michael, after you do that, after you do the video, Phil Bouchard wanted to present too.
Okay.
For an open discussion. So
Okay.
you wanted to talk about finite theory.
Cool. Let's see here. Can you guys see my share screen here?
There we go.
You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start with this. This meme is the Virgin Gray versus the Chad Draconian, and we're all familiar with these two hypothetical species of aliens that were maybe not aliens. Let's start with the Virgin Grays. They worked with humans while still abducting them. Their relationship with humans broke down when President Jimmy Carter ordered to destroy their secret base after constant abductions. Mixes the DNA of different species, brings the Ammermoot meme to its ultimate potential, has to use mind control because it cannot even beat up human women and human children. Does not invade Earth as the Chad Draconians are in the way. Also, humans can nuke their spaceship. Completely genderless, has to rely on artificial wounds and other organisms, DNA, in order to reproduce or survive. Their waste products are secreted through their skin. Held prisoners at Area 51, crash landed on Earth because they have drug problems. Use humans as test subjects because they are insecure about their DNA. Parasites as they can't reproduce by themselves. Has no original culture and way of life, a robotic and soulless species. Communism. Now let's go to the Chad Draconian. Spits out acid, bile, and uses sharp claws to kill their enemy. Blood rituals, cannibalism, mammal food. Looks like walking dragon. View themselves as a master species, is a lizard supremacist. Female draconians can lay multiple eggs, has no problem with reproduction, can shapeshift to avoid direct combat. More technologically advanced than the Virgin Grays. Interbreeds with humans, not because of experiment, but to help the reptilian agenda. Never needs to invade most of the time, as they are experts of deception in disguise. Wants to take over the earth because they see it as their spiritual home because of the dinosaurs. Does not want to destroy Earth, unlike the Virgin Grays and some humans. And they represent fascism. So now I'm going to go to our,
Michael, can I clarify? Right now, you just nailed down the two iconic descriptions of all that is alien. One of these are, which are you in? Aliens or Greys, or both? And we're going to distill it down to this. Is this basically what you've done?
disclaimer, Carl, this is a meme.
Got it. Move forward. Fully on board. You've baked it down very well. Thank you, sir.
I thought it was actually representing political parties. I thought the one was Democrat.
I just
Okay,
wanted to summarize that this is a distillation of a lot of ideas.
okay, hold on, let's back up here. Can you guys see our visitor from the future here?
Yes, and so this is the video you wanted to share. So
Yeah, with the SCU guys.
Okay, yesterday you told us you traveled, and I quote, thousands of light years to get here. Gosh. Tell us the truth. So I think it's aliens took over our future, right? So we're human. Okay, so you evolved from us. So what are you doing here now? How? Okay, so how about we concentrate on your time? Time. Wait, so you know the meaning of life? What's the difference? Okay, illuminate us. What happens when we die? Okay, so let me get this straight. There's no God, and we all experience each other's lives, right? Okay, so how was the universe created, and why is it so perfectly made for us? Moving on. Okay, so why do we destroy ourselves with nuclear war? Can you be more specific, please? Okay, one last thing. What about morality? What do you base your morality on?
Covered up the punchline. He said, what do you base your morality on? And he said, compassion and evidence, which I thought was a very interesting answer.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I thought was curious is he said that death is a human construct, which I think that's kind of cool. And the thing I found humorous about it was he kind of sounds like my older brother when he talks. And I definitely think he's what they're calling the Virgin Gray. And so I'm just curious what folks think about what this guy from the future said, putting aside the
Well, Michael, now,
skepticism.
so in chat, Jeremiah is saying that the producer of this said it was a social experiment. So he was saying that it was computer generated.
Yeah, it's been talked about as being fake. It's but it is the whole mythology and the narrative, and it just supports all the things that people have talked about in terms of experiencers and the things that that have been communicated to people. It's a narrative that builds upon itself.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I think that I mean, I guess from my perspective, the psychology of this entire area, right, and the sociology, and that's what Michael's touching on, the psychological, the sociological aspects of this are incredibly underreported and overlooked, you know. So I would agree with that. Well, so I don't mean to cut in, but I got myself in a bind because earlier, earlier Philip wanted to present, I don't know where the chat went. He wanted to present on his theory. And,
yeah,
and I
if Philip
said,
was still around, it'd be awesome, Tim. If I just may add one thing just to the end of Boyd's before we put Philip on, and I can't wait to hear about what he's got with Finite Theory now. I'm expecting good things. But in terms of that video, regardless of how fake or how real it is, the idea is that it makes you really think deeply about the nature of life and the nature of the universe. And these are important things because I find that almost every single one of us I've ever talked to in private conversation isn't just an engineer, isn't just a physicist, isn't just a mathematician, but they're also a philosopher. And they think deeply about these things. I think there's a very deep tie between exploring the universe in a way that's not quite so take it out of the book at face value. And I would consider the same thing for Alexey. Even if Alexey's videos are fake, what they have done is created in the mind of many, many people the possibility that it could be real, and have created a motion, a huge movement towards trying to solve this impossible problem. And this is nothing more than miraculous, quite frankly. So if it was fake, Alexey did a perfect job. And if it was real, Alexey did a perfect job. And in either case, the goal was achieved. We are all looking, we are all wondering, we are all calculating, we are all exploring, and now we are all, or many of us are now starting to experiment. And can't say good enough things about it. So regardless of whether it's fake or real, we need to keep on paying attention to this, because this group effort is really going to bring us a real technology one way or the other. And there are already real technologies, right now that are unfortunately wrapped up under NDAs and stuff, but we already know that these things exist. So it's just a matter of getting this stuff out there into the public and for us to be able to do it ourselves. And with that said, please, I'd love to hear about finite theory. Thank you so much for the time, Tim.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, Michael, I'm sorry for cutting you short. They were like, what about the theory? I was like, uh-oh, yes. Uh-oh. Yeah,